Change often begins where leadership dares to name what everyone else avoids. Welcome to episode 4 of season 3 of the Leadership Lounge. I'm Antony Alex, your host. Today, we turn our lens to the frontier of social enterprise and purpose-driven leadership, where taboo is met with authenticity and business models meet meaning. The Sangya project was founded by Shweta, Tanisha and Ashish, a queer and polyfamily-led venture on a mission to destigmatize sexuality, trauma-informed education and inclusive wellness in India. Shweta, a practicing litigating lawyer turned social entrepreneur. Tanisha, a social impact researcher, queer and non-binary survivor. And Ashish, a writer, producer and kink educator. Together, they bring complementary leadership strengths. This is leadership at the edge, identifying a need where society has been silent, building a culture of trust and inclusion, deploying entrepreneurship to shift mindsets and markets. The Sangya team shows how leadership isn't always about large-scale industrial enterprises. Sometimes it's about reframing narratives, creating safe spaces, and redefining what value really means. In our conversation, we'll explore how purpose became business, how taboo became possibility, and how leaders like Shweta, Tanisha, and Ashish are shaping a new generation of human-centered enterprise.
Running a business is hard no matter what business it is, right? You could be selling clothes, you could be selling coffee, and it's hard.
One of our posts went viral when we were just being a sex ed page on Instagram, and it was basically around, did you know that flavored condoms aren't meant for penetrative use? It's meant only for oral use.
You look at our Instagram account, right? You go to the comments. We don't delete comments. You just look at how much love we get, how much respect we get.
Have experienced similar things from our teen years and the awkwardness of puberty and parents changing the channel when there's an intimate scene coming and then saying, no, we won't talk about it. Then you get married and suddenly they expect you to just start making babies like that.
As a founder, not even in this industry, as a business owner, you're always in self-doubt, and there's nothing wrong with that.
The definition of a business owner, the definition of a startup brand versus a brand are very different.
I really need founders to understand this, that not all money is good money.
Let's make sure this family does not go to jail because they're selling sex toys. Was her first job. Literally 3 personalities, right? LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, right? So,
It's not actually accurate at all.
But it sounds great.
It makes for a great soundbite. Welcome to the Leadership Lounge.
Thank you for having us
Thank
here.
you for having us.
Delighted to have you all. You're the first family that's come on the Leadership Lounge. Yes. So I think this is going to be a very, very interesting conversation. So thanks once again. All right. So you all come from very diverse backgrounds, right? Law, media, conservation, right? So if you were to look back at your lives and maybe take a time machine 20 years back and ask yourselves, do you see yourselves leading the sex tech revolution in India?
Absolutely not. Like 20 years back, I probably thought I would be a Bollywood film producer, like I tried to be.
Producer, not actor?
My dad tried really hard. He wanted to be the Rakesh Roshan to me being the Hrithik Roshan, but I just didn't do well in front of the camera, and I do enjoy being behind the camera and getting everything together. It's something that I still do for Sangya and otherwise as well, being the producer for most of the content.
I think you would have been the director, but yeah.
Yeah, but a little bit of both. But the sex tech revolution, absolutely
Far from
not.
it.
Far from it, right.
Yeah, I was supposed to be doing law.
Well, you did law eventually, right?
Yeah, for 12 years. But I was fairly clear on doing something that made me feel like I was contributing to something rather than. And law was intellectually extremely challenging and fulfilling, but it was it was also somebody else's battle that I was essentially fighting on their behalf and being in the line of fire instead of them, right? It's very, very different to do this where you're essentially assisting people to understand where they are and where they would want to be. So
Sure.
completely different scenarios. So absolutely did not think, but I think this is the direction that I wanted to go in.
I think it's similar, but for me, what it was is that I was always writing in this general, like on this subject in general, and I was very passionate about this area, but it felt like it was so personal to me that it could not possibly be turned into a business idea of any sort. And I kept thinking that this is just something I do out of personal interest, and it took meeting these two and really opening up that side of myself to realize that, oh, there's so much more I can do rather than just speaking about it in a silo and feeling so limited in its reach.
All right. So was there a moment when you all felt like this is not just a project anymore? This is real, this is leadership, and we've got to do this, right? You know, that the penny drop moment, not really penny drop, but you know, a moment where you felt like it's the shift has happened.
For me, it happened when one of our posts went viral, when we were just being a sex ed page on Instagram, and it was basically around, did you know that flavored condoms aren't meant for penetrative use? It's meant only for oral use, right? And the advertising and marketing was not explaining that part, and we felt like people were using flavored condoms for oral use as well, and then using it for penetrative use, because like the Desi mindset, right? We've got one condom, might as well use it. Why waste money? And I think that was the main focus. But that post went viral, so viral that the editor from Midday called us and said we want to do a whole article around you guys because of this post,
which ended up being a front page, full front page.
Yeah. Well, small front page, and then inside.
In my head, it's a full front page.
That was the second one. So we got featured a lot, and that was a lot of fun. But that was the first feature, and when I saw this, and I was just like, hey, I think this is like more than just a sex ed page, right? Because clearly, if it's getting in the papers and it's not a slow news day, and people are asking us about sex toys, they're asking us about, okay, if not this condom, will this brand be okay? And I'm just like, maybe we should explore, using it as like tools, or at least telling them. And then we, for the next couple of posts, what we did was we reviewed sex toys, right?
Okay.
We got bought a few sex toys and said, okay, maybe we can review it and help them. And people were just like, no, is there something that you recommend in the sense that this is what you should buy, or tell me how to use it? And I'm like, if I'm doing this, might as well sell it myself. That was my business mindset at that point.
Okay. No, that's the evolution of Sangya project.
Yeah.
Basically, you started out as a post, then as a reviewer, and then finally an organization that makes your own.
Yep.
Wow, interesting.
I think for me, because I've always been community facing and customer facing, the change was just in seeing how much people were willing to open up and talk about themselves. And it went from realizing that, oh, this isn't just a singular post or a singular essay that the community is liking and they're sending to their friends. They're really looking for just someone to talk to and feel understood by. And they want the internet to be a space that doesn't feel so filtered and doesn't feel so clean all the time, and is actually talking about the difficult parts of their everyday lives. So I feel like when I started getting that barrage of stories and requests from people, or just people saying thank you and this is how lonely I felt because no one has addressed this before, that is what really made the difference, and it cemented the idea that this is something that needs to be so much larger than just a one-time conversation or occasional posts.
Needs to be addressed.
Yeah, for me, because it started off as a page, I think at that time I wasn't as involved as I became later. But when I would hear these guys talk about what it felt like when they would have conversations with the customers and how the natural evolution of the page seemed to be going towards actually selling the product, it sort of became clear to me that we together have the skill set for it, with these two being customer facing, great at making content, me with my kind of background being able to actually do the business end of things. it sort of drew upon me that we could just sort of combine these skill sets and give people what they want, which they were asking for anyway in the comments, in the DMs. It just seemed like the next logical step. So then, and then of course, once we started selling, the next logical step after that was, why go through all of that hassle when we can make over here? So it was all a very natural progression, one step after the other, which we just sort of let evolve on its own.
That's such a polite way of saying you saw Ashish and me making financial decisions and you knew that was time to step in and
Let's make sure this family does not go to jail because they're selling sex toys. Was her first job.
That's the non-sugar-coated part of it.
She came in as a lawyer.
Yeah, she's like, what are you guys doing? And I'm just like,
partner that
hey,
believes in
we're
you.
gonna like put our faces on dildos, and she's like, wait, I need to look at the legality of this.
Yeah,
I don't want my family going to
Okay,
jail.
so the non-sugar coated version is that I sat down and did a lot of research, read on all the precedent possible under Indian law about it, and then was like, you know what, you guys are not capable of making financial decisions. Let me step in and I will take care
So
of it.
you're the adult in the room.
But the sugar coated version is what I told you.
That's fine. Both versions work. So, what does, I mean, I'd love to sort of go a little deeper in terms of what leadership means to the three of you. Responsibility, rebellion, or survival.
It's very interesting with Sangya because all three of us at some point in Sangya's journey have been the CEO of Sangya, right? Because of where we were in life and how we evolved into the respective roles that we were. Because I don't feel that when you're a startup and you're just starting out, right? And it's such a brand or company that you are unable to, because we're, like you said, we're from diverse backgrounds, we have different skill sets, but which skill set and which ethos and which gumption is the right one for the CEO? Which one is the right for the COO? How do we divide that without being like, hey, nee, we're going to take equal decisions? It doesn't always work that way. So the first CEO was Tanisha, because it was Tanisha's idea. The whole Sangya project is their gem. And I was just like, okay, so because it's your gem, it makes sense that you're the CEO. And as we started making it into business, they realized, hey, listen, business, no. I will talk.
I have the idea.
I have the idea. And I was like, okay. And I was in a corporate job. I was the chief video officer of a big agency at that time. So at that point, I was like, okay, the next logical step is me being CEO. So I took over as CEO. And I looked at it and I was just like, okay, so I'm either going to shoot people, right? Or I'm going to burn this place to the ground. I do not have the acumen for this kind of business to be the CEO. And we all looked at Shweta and said, okay, this is the perfect CEO. And we were right. And since Shweta took over as the CEO, everything just fell into, the role that she needed to. She grew into it and really understood it. And we trusted her with the decisions. And obviously, we became the confidants and the voice of reason when we believed that this needed a discussion, which was not that it became rarer and rarer as we went forward. And I absolutely understood that when it comes to selling whatever needs to be sold in a particular way, the marketing of it, the sales of it, the logistics of it is something that I love doing and I'm really, really good at. And when it came to understanding what product needs to be given to the people, what design, what color, what box, the actual product, Tanisha is the person who understands the people the most. So what to give them, how to use it and why they need it before even they knew was something that they understood perfectly. And that's when we became the tripod of what Sangya is. And when you have an idea of what leadership looks like, and you always want to be the CEO and not the driving force of the brand or company itself, that's where a lot of people, I feel, fail, right? You have to understand a couple of things. If you want fame because of being a startup founder, if you want money, and if you want shareholding, right?
What is your priority?
What is your priority, right? If one of these three things are your priority, just make sure you have, because all three are background things.
Yeah.
Right? For Instagram, Mosseri is the head of Instagram. He's got his fame. He's always in front of the camera. He's doing what needs to be done. But who's the owner? Owner and CEO is Mark Zuckerberg at the end of it. As long as Zuckerberg understands that I can't be that for Instagram particular moment, it's great. He gets the fame, you get the show. So in our case, we made sure that whatever we do is equal. Shareholding is kept aside, right? Monies are equal, that's kept aside. Who wants to be the face and fame of it all? That was decided and understood who's going to be the faces. When you as a company also get together and you have founders and co-founders and you want to do that, for example, Super You as well, right? You have one person who, Ranveer Singh, who can be the marketing guy, can be the Ryan Gosling of his startups that are there where he's the face and he's talking about it. And there's someone who's running the show in a way that keeps the structure proper. It's not that this guy is not doing anything. In today's day and age, selling and getting the product and trust, building that trust is equally important as running the structure, right? Is what people don't understand a lot. And they feel like I need to be everything at once. So choosing your founders and being the leadership in your roles is what leadership looks like and has been for us. And that evolution can take time. And that's okay.
Sure.
But I also love that you phrased it as rebellion, survival and responsibility, because I feel like that is the closest I've come to finding the right words for the three of us. Those are the roles we've played, and it's not fixed to a particular person at any time. I think what works here is recognizing when one of us is leaning in a particular direction and then the other two immediately counter that. So even though we have very set responsibilities at Sangya and the way we run it and what our visions are, knowing how to make sure that we're surviving but also holding on to that rebellion and staying responsible for the community is something that has really worked for us.
Yeah, I think as every startup, when it starts, sort of goes through different phases where it's a combination of all those three, but in different proportions, right? So when you're just starting out and you're still figuring out your vision, it's a lot of survival. When you get to one from that zero, it becomes more about responsibility. As you grow as a company, you have shareholders, you have employees, then it becomes more about responsibility and less about survival. The rebellion aspect of it is just how much you believe in what it is that you're trying to do as a brand, the values that you will not compromise on, because it's very easy to take a step back on those values and have your moral compass go here and there for the sake of profitability, right? And that is where the rebellion also comes in, not just in terms of, I'm talking about sex ed, but even in terms of what it means as a person to run a business, what are my values and what am I bringing to the table. And where am I willing to compromise to increase the GMV, right? And that's where that comes in. And those sort of differ depending on where the business is at, how young you are as a business, how many years you've put in, how the people view your brand, how much your brand is run on ads versus the community, which then makes the faith that people have in you that much more valuable, although it should be valuable at any given point anyway. So that's how I see it.
More so in this industry, I think, because you really have to have a moral standpoint to have a long-term vision and sustain here. I think
not anymore, I think.
Yeah.
I think when we started, it was that because everyone who started at that time in 2020, 2021 was creating a brand. But right now, when you open QCom and e-com websites, there are a whole lot of companies that are kind of white labeling, which is great because they're making money and there's money to be made. But it's not exactly brand building. It's not what the companies that started out in 2020, 2021 focused on. Like all of us together focused so much on sex ed at that time because there was no education. Now people are getting more used to it. It's becoming more normalized with...
So there's a generational change, shift that's happening.
Correct.
Younger folks are
Correct.
obviously much more comfortable with it.
Correct.
And users as well.
Yeah, so when they see it, they already know what it's used for. So they go ahead and purchase it. But we didn't start out like that. We had to build that ground up with the trust, with the audience, with the customers, community, constantly making sure that they understand that it's not a fly-by-night company that will just take your money and run off, because at that time that was also fairly rampant. So it looked so different 5 years ago.
So we are moving into territory because which is the product itself, right? Which in India is taboo, right? Other parts of the world probably not, but definitely in India. I mean, you go to Europe,
Correct.
you find shops selling sex toys. It's really very, very normalized there. Yeah. How has that made you who you are today? What does it mean to you from a leadership perspective when this whole thing itself is at many levels taboo still in India? What does that mean to you? I mean, how do you see it? How has that made you who you are?
That actually has added a lot of layers of difficulty, in the sense that running a business is hard no matter what business it is, right? You could be selling clothes, you could be selling coffee, and it's hard. And it's hard because of a lot of decisions that you have to take on a day-to-day basis, but there are certain things that are easy for any business, like opening a bank account or getting a payment gateway or getting vendors on board or running ads, for example.
Sure.
Those are things that you don't need to worry about. You need to worry about things like stock and inventory and what your investors want and sales, and those are things that are common to every business that they worry about. But in a space like this, even those steps that you would typically take for granted in a regular business become an uphill battle. So the time that it would take for you as a clothing company to start running ads seamlessly without any effort would take me 5 times as long. And I'm not even exaggerating here. That number is not even just in a manner of speaking.
It actually is 5 times.
It is that hard because you need to find an agency who knows how to work around this niche. So you're not only constantly fighting the taboo, there is the societal taboo, but there is also the systemic algorithm-led taboo and limitations that you're constantly fighting. So everything is an uphill battle that would normally be taken for granted in a business when you're just starting off. And that just makes it so much harder to then work with the pace that regular startups work at, right? Like when you're trying to look at that growth is a culmination of the time and effort you've put in. And the lesser time you put into these things that are actually typically mundane, the quicker the growth. But when you're putting in that much time and energy and effort into things that are typically taken for granted, that is where your time is going. So everything is so much slower and harder.
So while other startup founders are on a flat level playing field, you're basically going uphill all the time.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's with everything. That's just with, you tell me an aspect of business and I will tell you how that is harder in sexual wellness.
And I think it depends on where you are when you're starting in this industry or an industry like this. For example, I keep going back to this because it's a big pain point for me, and it will be for any desi man, I believe, right? I was part of the C-suite of a big agency, right? We 200 plus employees, and I had a big team, and I would be called to conferences, to give lectures, to do whatever it needs to be, right? There was a certain amount of respect and ego that was built for me because I was a leader in my media field. But as soon as you become a startup founder in a sexual wellness space, people don't want to give you the time of day. They want to avoid talking to you. You're not invited to a lot of podcasts until it's about sexual wellness. That's
actually, you've really experienced that firsthand, right?
Yeah,
there's a sense of...
Absolutely. This is a sense of loneliness from the industry. When I say the industry, I mean the ecosystem of economy of the industry, right? For example, if I'm one of the startup founders of a protein company, I'm going to be called to all the D2C conferences, right? Nesco mein, they'll be like, hey, can you put up a stall? When, if anybody knows Bombay Goregaon, right? The Nesco stuff that happens, you're going to be called to different, podcasts to talk about how, the product affects stuff, how quick comics affect, but nobody's going to call...
Startup Kumbh
Mela, they're not going to call you, right? Because they're like, hey, if you put up this stall,
it'll be awkward.
It'll be awkward. What will happen? Will the media come in? Will it be negatively perceived, right? So you're so lonely, and as a leader, to not have a pulse of the industry
That's
and
hard.
to feel lonely is harder than you can imagine.
We can't apply for startup grants. Those are out the window. Typically, where investors are concerned, they look at this industry with a lot of, now that is also changing slowly, but they also look at it with a lens of a lot of skepticism. So it's all over. It is non-stop every step of the way. So, and
this despite the fact that your business is totally and absolutely legit.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah,
Absolutely.
and it's a healthy business. So
And
you
it's,
show
and
them,
it's actually it's good. It's
Yeah.
good for people. Sexual wellness is good, right? Why
Yeah.
sweep it under the carpet?
and that's the thing. You show them. You look at our Instagram account, right? You go to the comments. We don't delete comments. You just look at how much love we get, how much respect we get.
Okay.
It is never, it's hardly ever people hating on us. It's hardly ever somebody harassing someone in the comments.
That's not an invitation, huh? Don't start harassing in the comments and stuff like that.
But what I'm trying to say is that you have to, and it's not like it's a 2,000 people ka account. It's a decent sized account. You look at the business itself, it's healthy in and out. And of course, like you said, it's fully legit. So the parameters that you would typically look at to see whether you want to associate with this business, the business itself, the numbers, the way the people are perceiving it, the way the people think of the brand, the community building, all of that is in place, right? So the only thing that holds anyone back is the conditioning then.
Yeah.
It's the subject itself. Because, like I said, if this was clothing, nobody would bat an eyelid. Looking at these parameters, they would be like, this is fantastic, let's do more of this.
Forget that, like Diwali, for example, I wanted to do hampers, right? I wanted to collaborate with different brands that I could to create a hamper, right? Socks.
With your products being one
yeah,
part of
one
it.
part of one of the products, etc. Nobody wants to do it. One brand that we were able to collaborate with was an alcohol brand. Now that they're taboo in itself in a different way, right? So we went together well.
Two taboos get together.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's the only brand we could collaborate with. And the most they would go to collaborating with us is use our lube, right? Maybe, but you can't collaborate with anybody.
Well, that's hard. Although I can see the collaboration with the alcohol brand would come out really nicely. Have lots of alcohol and then use our products.
Yeah, but that also gets a little bit tricky because then we have to
Talk about consent.
consent and how
Consent,
that
yes.
works, etc.
course.
So it does though look like it goes well, but at the end of it, it doesn't. The main parameters, it doesn't lead to sales or anything like that.
No, but I see the challenges that you've faced as founders in a space which is taboo in our country.
Yeah.
Have you ever explored overseas countries? Is that something that taking the brand global?
Market in itself, you don't want to. I'm in a very weird way that people say patriotic in my own sense, right? The whole reason we're doing Made in India because it is much more difficult than just like getting stuff in.
No, but what I meant, Ashish, was make in India and export to the world, or make in India for the world.
No, that's, there are a couple of things there. Firstly, you're trying to enter we started in a market that is non-existent. Outside of India is an extremely mature market. It's not just about the maturity of the market, but for something like this, you also need to have the pulse of the cultural nuances, not just cultural, pop culture. So there are several layers to it, right? It's not as binary as opening a store in another
Understood.
country of a product, because it's so personal to your needs. It becomes a little more layered. Also, because most of the people over there bring it from China and then sell it over there, there's a massive difference in the cost in that sense. To manufacture over here in India and then sell it outside and incurring the export costs would not even,
Commercially
unit
may not make
economic
sense.
wise will
Unit
not
may
make sense.
Yeah, and the whole cultural part, right? We are concentrating on black colored products and packaging in a way that would be discreet for Indian people, right? And Sangya project in itself is a Desi name, though it could work in, abroad as well. But people abroad, because the market's so mature, the packaging needs to be completely different, right? They want fantastical colors, right? They want, and for them it's like the iPhone, right? They want to keep changing every 6
Upgrading,
months or
changing.
every year. And for us, it's less, because we're doing the R&D ourselves, it takes us a year just to get the next product up and going, right? We're still in that market right now. So till I don't tap into India as a market in a whole and mature this market, it doesn't make sense going.
Ashish, you mentioned fantastical colors, and that sums it up, right? Our packaging is always very dull and subdued.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like we want to hide it.
Yeah.
We don't want anybody
Yeah,
to see
correct.
it.
And if a brand does do it in a fantastical color packaging, people will always have to put a caveat.
They'll put a brown cover.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or is it discreet? So I'm just like, then why are you spending so much money on making this fantastic cover, which you know two things are going to happen. One, the customer is going to ask, is it in brown packaging or black paper or whatever it is. Secondly, as soon as they come, they're going to try to rip it up. Like, we tried one fantastical cover, really hardcover box, and we have ambassadors and everybody who talk to us, and they're like, and they're like, you know, the box is great, but how do I get rid of this?
Yeah.
I can't dispose of it.
Went
I can't-
somewhere else to get rid of it.
Okay, folks. So, staying with Taboo, do you feel that as leaders, you all, you know, particularly leaders of spaces that are, let's say, uncomfortable, right? Which is the space that the Sangya project is in. Do you need to be more vulnerable, or do you need to be more unshakable?
I would say vulnerability is something that I prioritize in this space, because if I don't have that going for me, it gets very difficult to connect with the community and the consumers and really get not just detailed feedback but also insights on where the brand needs to go, what the catalog needs to look like, what the content needs to look like, and what their needs are going to look like over the next couple of years as well. That communication and conversation continuously happens because they see us as people who are having similar experiences and people who are struggling on the sexual front or the wellness front in similar ways that they are. So there is a comfort that they feel when they open up about what they're going for. If I present myself as impenetrable and, you know, unshakable on that front, then they will not see me as someone they can open up to, and they'll just get lonely. But when Shweta talked about the business issues, right? So I would say that on the business side of things, we have to be very, very unshakable. There's no room to, you know, doubt yourself as much, because I feel like the structures around you will plant plenty of doubt in itself. You have to be able to really get up and be convinced that what you're doing is going to pay off and it's going to make sense, because that validation is not going to come externally every single time at the right time when you need it and want it.
Do you believe that your personalities have shaped that as well?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Whoever is customer facing in this industry, if we start sounding unshakable, we sound preachy. And you can't sound preachy in this space, because you can't tell people this is how it is. You're essentially telling people if this is where you are, then you need to acknowledge that. And with that, vulnerability comes automatically, right? Because you're essentially telling people that this is also from my personal experience and I'm opening up a conversation, as opposed to me telling you that this is what it is. I'm not a chemistry professor. It's not an absolute science. It's human experiences. So it has to be vulnerable. But when it comes to the business end of things, vulnerability doesn't go a long way. That is just how it's structured. You are constantly expected to only talk about the wins. The minute you talk about your struggles or be vulnerable in the complete sense of the word, it's taken as weakness. And that in front of, for example, shareholders or prospective investors or vendors does not go down well. That's just a systemic issue where vulnerability is equal to weakness. So you just can't show it. In fact, me talking about it right now is vulnerable. And I have no idea of how that would
Be perceived.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I like what I'm doing, because I can be the court jester, right? I just want to sell. I just want to sell the product. So whether I'm vulnerable, unshakable, stupid,
Sab chalega.
because I'm just trying to showcase different human aspects that can occur. And I love being that court jester. And this is literally 3 personalities, right? LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, right? So, Twitter and Reddit. Like, where can I be the most self-deprecating so that people understand that these are the needs that could occur? Whereas there's Instagram where there's a little bit of vulnerability and a little bit of manicured understanding, and then there's LinkedIn where
it's all business.
It's all business, it's all what it needs to be. And I think that is what makes Sangya, or at least this peculiar brand, what it is, because we can be these 3 leaders in their own way, where I'm okay with being the dumb one. Right, like we just put up a reel the other day about how much lube is too much lube, or any of the reels that we do, right? I'm always seen as either dumb or in a vulnerable cuck, like they say, in a derogatory way position, or whatever it is. Even though that's not me in real life, I'm okay with portraying myself in that. So
As
people
long as
understand.
it's good for business?
No, as long as it's good for people.
People, okay.
The messaging,
The
the
messaging,
story.
right? Because I need people to understand themselves a little bit more and understand that these are the use cases of products, and or these kind of sexualities exist, and it's fine, right?
And that being a man is more than being macho or alpha.
Yes, that's just being myself.
Was there a time when you, I mean, the more I hear all of you, right, I feel like even where you've got to so far, it's a tremendous achievement, right, against all odds, having got to where you are. Yeah, seriously, I mean, I really mean that as, from somebody who's also started a company and against odds similar to you folks, although very different. I can fully appreciate how difficult and challenging it might have been. Was there ever a time that the odds seemed so insurmountable that you said?
Every morning.
Every morning.
I didn't even need to complete my question.
I wake up in the morning and say, "Sab jala do."
But then again,
And then what pulls you back?
The thing is, I don't know a single startup founder who doesn't face this every morning. If they do, then I don't know if they're being vulnerable or honest.
Okay.
I'm sure you've had it. It's
Of
just,
course I do. Not every morning. Though.
it's just, it's like I said, it's literally running a business is taking care of 15 things while 5 are on fire. And that's every day. And it doesn't mean that it's an unhealthy business. It's just what working with 15,000 moving parts looks like. Some things will always go wrong. And it is that with every founder, but what happens is glimmers, right? You see someone reaching out and a random text saying that because of the kind of things that you put out, the stuff that you talk about, it's helped me in this way. Or thank you for doing this because at least somebody is. Or this takes so much courage, right? Even what you said a minute ago. These small little things go a long way, because as a founder, not even in this industry, as a business owner, you're always in self-doubt, and there's nothing wrong with that because you're doing a hard thing. If you're doing a hard thing without any self-doubt, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know any founder who can claim to have, yeah.
I don't think anyone does. But it's when you receive something back, and I don't mean monetarily, when it gives back is what becomes the motivation. When the DMs and the comments are full of how much it's helped people, that is encouragement. When people and other founders especially come and say, boss, this is fantastic because it's so hard. Then it's like, oh, maybe I'm not doing things, maybe I am doing things right. So that goes a very long way.
And it also depends, I think the public and a lot of people who are becoming startup founders or are business owners themselves, this part of waking up in the morning and being like sab jala do depends on whether you're a startup anymore also or not. There are a lot of people who will come on podcasts and be think pieces with Nikhil Kamath and everything, and I want to look at them and say, are you Ola ka founder to startup hai abhi ke nahi hai? I don't think
you're a startup or not.
Yeah, you're not a startup, right? So you don't have the same struggles that I do.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
As a startup founder. So that differentiation that's why I hate LinkedIn. It needs to be made. Where is your revenue right now? It is Because where is your revenue right now, and where is your team's strength right now, and are you still a startup founder? Do you even know the definition of startup? ChatGPT kar le yaar, like that's why utna to kar le ke am I a startup yet, or am I now just a business? Am I a brand? Right?
Well established is what you mean.
No, a business. The definition for startup and business are completely different. You could have the same revenue, but the struggles and what you're doing is different. Right? The definition of a business owner, the definition of a startup brand versus a brand are very different.
Sure.
Right? Which people don't understand. So the vulnerability is also different. The battles are different. So the sub jalado is because we are putting out those 15 fires, whereas a business owner has different fires and different people handling those fires.
Understood.
There's a certain, the reason I'm saying this is because for the next founder.
Sure.
Don't listen to the podcast that Ranveer Alubadia or anybody else will have, because they have well-established people coming in and talking about struggles that may not exist for you. So don't be bogged down by it.
Listen to this is the real grounded founders who are really getting their hands dirty and
they went through that,
struggling every day.
And I'm sure they went through that, and now suddenly they don't have those problems, and they've forgotten it, or they just remember it as a. And it goes so fast,
glasses.
And especially when you're a tech founder or something, money changes on the dime. Suddenly you got $10 million or $20 million,
and then the
funding.
whole game changes.
Completely changes. Yeah.
So I guess your advice to at least those who are 3 founders setting up together would be to ensure that you have a LinkedIn, you have an Instagram, and you have an X.
Yes.
All in the mix.
Yes.
All right. I want to shift tracks a little bit to how you've described yourself as a queer and a poly family. How is that, and I'm sure there are like lots of things you can talk about in terms of how different you are as a business or a startup from any other startup, right? But in your eyes, how do you perceive your sort of organization as different from others in light of the setup at home and the setup at work, etc.?
I think the stakes sort of change a little bit when you're running a company with family. And I'm not even talking about queer, poly, straight, monogamous. I'm
Same
not
everywhere.
talking about. Yeah, I think as a family unit, when you start a business, a startup, any of it, the stakes completely change. Because who you are in your personal life is very different from who you are in your professional life. And it's not to say that it's a bad thing. It's just what is required of you. The kind of calling out you need to do with people who need to be held accountable in work settings is very different from you telling your husband, pick your socks up.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, 10 years
Jesus.
later, we'll still be doing this.
But what I'm trying to say is that if that is not managed well and in a tender fashion, it could really, really, go up in flames very, very quickly. So I think it's more about running something as a family where you are involved not just professionally but also personally and living together.
Understood. And I just want to, sort of refer to the post that you put out a few days ago on LinkedIn, where you've spoken about working with people that you live with, and it's a beautiful post. I think you've brought out the challenges really nicely, and there are days obviously when you get up saying jala do sab kuch and that same day you go back home and have a nice meal with your family, right? So I just want to explore that a little more in the sense of how does it really impact, and I think Shweta's really brought it out in terms of both the post as well as what you've just said. But Tanisha and Ashish.
For me, if I
Go
may,
ahead.
For me, like, I've worked with people who are not family,
Yeah.
and I've worked with people who are family. The struggles are different, but even with the fights and everything, I know one thing. Our goal is the same. So if I'm fighting with you, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with, I believe this is the best for the brand. Because of that understanding, and it took us maybe a little bit to get to that understanding, but once we got to that understanding, sab mein equal hai, right? We have our roles set out. And if I'm fighting with you, it's for the betterment of the brand. right? There's no hostile takeover, or there's no kicking you out,
Ego
or
battle.
ego battle, or I want to shift to another company and all. Yeah, nahi, ye hamara family business hai, right? It's ours. So that means if I'm fighting and then recognizing that, and they're like, okay, shit, if you're really fighting with me on this, I need to understand where I'm seeing it differently, and then get down to the numbers and the trust of, if I go with what you're saying and take that leap of faith, is this one of those battles I want to win or let go of, and see if it's worth it or not, right? And that understanding, I don't think comes from if I were with my friend, or if I were with even my brother, to be very honest. There's a different fashion in family as well, right? And every family-owned business, because I'm from a Punjabi household who has nothing but family businesses on one side, right? I've seen how brothers can fight and have an ego battle and drift apart, ke abhi saath mein nahi rehna hai. But when it comes to a poly throuple, three people who are equal, are family in a very different sense, ke hamara goal ek hai. Like, this is our goal for the company and the brand. We are not going to get up and say alag rehna hai. We're going to be in the same place even if we leave the company, which we won't. And if this is in our ethos, why are you angry, or why are you so frustrated? Let's figure that part out. And that understanding is very rare. And that's what builds our leadership as a polythrouple.
Actually, it's very interesting that you say that. So in many ways, the fact that you're a, let's say, polythrouple means that you're all joined at the hip.
Yes.
Right? All for one, one for all.
One for all.
Right?
Three musketeers,
So both at work and at home.
Yes.
It's basically fueling you as a unit, as a professional unit, but also at home as a family unit.
Yes.
So that's really interesting, because I guess you all realize that this is it. There's no other option. अब हम सबको साथ ही रहना है, काम भी करना है, and that's what's really propelling your organization forward as well.
That's that's definitely a motivation. If I had to think about doing anything, I don't really want to do it without these two, because not just because my love for them, but also because I know how they complement what I bring to the table. So it works so beautifully as a unit. And after, I think, the first 6-8 months of when we started Sangya, where there were a lot of disagreements because we were still sort of trying to figure out how to work well together. After that, we worked as a well-oiled machinery. Now I know that there are certain things where I will take only Tanny's opinion on, or only Ashish's opinion on, and I know it's vice versa as well. And that works really well, because the ego is now out of the picture, has never really been in the picture. So
It's all about building the company.
it's all, it's you versus the problem. So the minute you see it that way, whether in the relationship or in the business, everything else just becomes secondary, and those are then just non-problems. Then it's just, is this way better or is this way better? It's not, is your way better or is my way better?
Yeah.
What gets us to that goal?
Understood. Tanisha, do you want to add something to that?
Very similar to what Shweta just said, that the working with a co-founder that I didn't have this intimate access and knowledge of would have been much harder for me personally. Simply because I think I would always be wondering how their life outside of work was shaping them, and how that was affecting their vision of their work and their careers and the goals we had in mind at the start. But that lack of clarity is never really there with partners that you're spending this much time with. So that is where the trust is always there, that I can wake up in the morning and disagree with my co-founder or have doubts there, but I know the partner behind that co-founder label. I know what they're actually gunning for. I know what's making them tick right now, and I know how to deal with the meeting or the situation at hand. And it's just so much easier to then process and make sure we're still on the same page, no matter how many changes have come up.
Your partners and co-founders and family 24/7.
Yeah.
Correct. It's awesome.
All right. It's awesome. Okay. Have there been moments when your personal values, right, what you felt, clashed with what you believe would be good for or best for the organization?
For example, and I didn't.
I mean, when you felt like, Ashish, that, we've got to do this or we should not do this, because I, Ashish, feel that way. But if you had done that, it might have worked out really well for the organization. Maybe a marketing campaign or maybe something that didn't sit well with your personal values, with who you are as an individual, or the two of you as well. But ultimately you said, you know what, doesn't matter, because if we do this, it's best for the Sangya project, and therefore I'm going to put aside what I feel individually or personally about this and do what's best for the company.
I don't think for me, because whatever
ever
Sangya
happened?
is my personal value. And I think I haven't set aside anything. If you see anything that's part of Sangya, it is what I am. It is exactly how I would do it at that particular point.
And there's never been a moment either where you felt like the company should be doing something differently because, or I don't feel comfortable with what the company is doing. No. Same for all of you? I mean, you're all
Yeah,
comfortable?
I mean, that's the beauty of running something with your partners. You know their values in and out. So what you're building is a culmination of what you have together. So it's not, I know that a company is a separate legal entity, but in essence, you're building this together. It's not two strangers coming together saying that this is what the market is showing me and this is the action that I need to take, this is what is trending. It's not that. It's three people who have decided to make something and it is born out of our collective values. So because we are in sync as individuals and also as people who work together, the works that we put out brings that out as well. So if, for example, there is something that I know is not my expert domain, I will defer. And there will be, I will just say that, oh, you know best, you do this. If there is something that they feel similarly about what I am an expert at, they'll just say that, yeah, okay, you take the call. This is my opinion, but the final call is yours.
So basically you've all come to an agreement on who
Very
has,
naturally,
who is
yeah.
an expert in
Yeah,
what area,
yeah.
and therefore you defer to that individual in terms of or is it a majority wins
It's not
kind
a
of
majority. I think that problem has never occurred because all of you are thinking the same thing, at least when it comes to the value part of that you're talking about, right? Should we do black packaging? Yeah, let's do black packaging. Should be the only time we had a small disagreement was maybe adding colors to the product, right? Had nothing to do with values. That had to do with someone saying that, oh, let's do pink and let's do this because it's sold well. And I'm like, how are you going to market this? Do we have money for the photography of it all and all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
logistic stuff? So not exactly values.
And at the end of the day, no, everybody will hide it in any case.
Yeah. So value part of it is, I think, and that's why we're in a relationship together as well, right? Our values are a match, and that's where I talked about it being so rare, right? If we're two co-founders coming from different value systems, is very different. There are some things where one co-founder would say like, okay, fine, tu bolta hai to, let's do this. But I wished we could have called it Gappa Cup, or we could have called it something else, etc. Right? But that's not the case. The three of us in a relationship because our values match, and the ideas always seem like a good idea because we're all thinking in a very similar fashion.
Gappa Cup is what we're going to call our next product.
But well.
I would say there is some dissonance though between I think what I want Sangya to be and the conversations around sex to be versus what they need to be right now. Not just in terms of surviving the algorithm and really making sure that we're not pissing the algo gods off and having our content taken down, but also the fact that there is an ideal level of clarity and say explicitness with which I would like people to be comfortable talking about sex versus where they're actually at right now and what they need to be able to engage with the subject. So I think that is something that makes me feel like there is a little gap between where I stand but also recognizing how I need to frame the language or structure the content to make sure that it doesn't alarm people so much that they feel like they don't want to engage with it at all. It's very simple for me to stand behind a screen and say you should be liberated, but then that's just internet activism that will give me maybe my 5-minute dopamine rush and a hit, and it doesn't actually do anything for the life of the person who's watching it. And that is something that I think has been a constant learning moment with Sangya as well. Like, no matter how much the brand presence grows online, no matter how much in our little bubble it feels like we're doing great and, you know, sexual revolution is here and pleasure has come. There will still be moments where a woman customer calls the brand and she's speaking in a whisper volume because her husband is in the next door, in the next room, and she does not want him to know she's buying this product or even asking about it. And this is something that genuinely happened with us. Yeah, there have been customers saying that I need this delivered when my in-laws are not at home. Is there a workaround for this? I can't have this safely delivered when my partner is at home because I don't know what he will think. There's so much to factor in. There are people, you know, just trying to deal with healthcare issues where there is so much pain on an everyday basis that they just want a basic level of pleasure to feel. If I disqualify that because that feels like too small a problem or too simple, and I go up to them and only scream about BDSM and kink and how they should be liberated every day, it's not going to work. So I think that reality check is something that has been has been very insightful and valuable with Sangya. Just noticing that you have to tone your moral beliefs or the plans that you build around them to make sure that it's actually working for the person sitting across you and not just buying you your virality.
That's where, you know, it never clashes with our value system, right? This is a clash with the algorithm and the people's value system versus yourself.
Yeah. It's what you make of those values to make sure that you're meeting a person's needs.
And sometimes we also have to remind ourselves, like for example, we do so many posts on basic stuff, and suppose we did it 6 months ago or 1 year ago. In our mind, it's like a syllabus. We've already covered this on the syllabus, but we don't realize that there are 10,000 or 20,000 new followers now.
Yeah.
They probably haven't been, they're going from, you know, they're now 18-year-olds or 21-year-olds who have just joined social media and following us. So they're starting all over again, and we have to keep on repeating basic stuff. Even though it's boring to us, there's new people seeing you for the first time all over again, and you have to keep on repeating those.
Fair enough. Although maybe you could, one of the things, workarounds could be to say, hey, listen, for all you newcomers, see our posts 1, 2, 3, 5, 7.
I wish the algorithm let us do that, but even for people to see that post is so much. Thank you, Meta.
All right. So one of the things that I, you know, find very interesting about setups, corporate setups, startups, etc., is that most of them tend to focus on hierarchy, right? The hierarchy is everything in a setup, right? You have the CEO and then you have the team and all of that stuff. At the Sangya project, it feels like belonging is a little more sort of regarded or valued than hierarchy. Would that be a fair statement? I mean, is that something that
No, I don't think so.
No?
I am from the traditional sense of hierarchy, not because of hierarchical sense or ego sense, right? It is more of a mentorship sense, right? Think of it as a pyramid scheme, right? You go to different levels when you're going on top, only once you've come to a certain understanding of the...
Very alarmed by where this is going, but please continue.
of where you are in life, right? I can't take someone seriously without the, you know, experiences or, you know, that you should have gone through for certain things, or the expertise or technical expertise that you should have gone through for certain things. Obviously, the opinions are always heard, and that's, I think, in every setup now, unless until you're a big company, which, you know, big company. I can't name them. Apparently, I'm being censored, but. But
we all know who the big companies
are.
Yeah,
the big companies, right?
Sure.
Because but I forgot what I was saying.
Hierarchies.
Yeah, right. Where they don't listen to opinions because they're like, okay, this is what needs to be done, you just execute it. Over here, it's more like, okay, let's talk about it. But the hierarchy is important only to make sure that whose responsibility is it when things don't work out, right?
Accountability.
Whose accountability is it, right? So when you hear the word hierarchy, you're hearing it in a negative traditional sense. But think of it as hierarchy so that you know who's accountable, which is always the top guys, who's responsible, whoever is responsible for the project, right? And mentorship. Are the people who you're keeping in a hierarchy getting mentored enough to go to and replace you? Which is the point, right? only when you are able to be, your mantle is being able to be given to whoever you were teaching, can you go up and can your life become a little bit more easier.
Sure.
But if you don't have those structures in place, it's not going to work.
So from that perspective, hierarchy is important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not just that, even in terms of the kind of viewpoint that someone higher up in the hierarchy will have is not something that's possible to give to everyone in a flat organization, right? The sort of issues that you're dealing with at the back end with the potential investors or with the existing investors is not the viewpoint that you can share with everyone. A lot of the decisions that are taken from that perspective. The economics of things, everyone can't sit and know about those things, not because of information sharing, but they just can't. That's just how it plays out. So even from the level of information that you have, it impacts the decision making. And that in itself creates a hierarchy. So even when you say it's a flat organization, certain people who are closer to this situation will have more information, thereby impacting their decisions. So at least with us, it doesn't work.
At your organization, from a belonging perspective, are you able to, the sense I've always got from after speaking with you folks is that many of the workforce that you have, people who work with you, are there out of a sense of belonging.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. 100%.
So could you tell us a little bit more about that in terms of how it works? What has made Sangya a little different from a belonging perspective? Is it the mission? Is it the passion? What's different here?
It is definitely those two things. I think for me specifically, because I'm at the customer facing side of things, what it's allowed me to do is really have a team of people who are able to think faster and more sensitively as a customer as well. That gap between what the brand is doing and what the community needs feels so small because people bring so much of their personal journey into the story and into the work that they're able to anticipate customer needs with far more precision and accuracy. That sensitivity and sensibility is always there. We're able to sort of make content together and then say, okay, this is something that means a lot to us and we really want to write it this way. But if we weren't part of the organization and we were just a customer, would you read it like this? Would you engage with it if it looked like this? So in that sense, I think belonging has been a very large part of who we work with and how well we work with them, because it's allowed people to bring that empathy into work continuously and see it as something that needs to stay sensitive and compassionate and not just another gig to put on their CVs, you know.
Yeah, everyone who's wanted to join us has wanted to join us because they believe in what we're building and have their own, and what we put out as content, as material, as educational material has resonated with them at a personal level, which is why they want to be a part of it, which is of course the biggest compliment.
So the content you put out there is not just for customers but also for prospective employees.
It's incidentally played out that way. That has of course never been the intent. The intent has always been to start conversations. The people who've then approached us after that have approached us because they related to it.
So when you're authentic about what you put out there, it plays itself out in terms of who you attract, right?
Absolutely. I think again it has to do with the vulnerability, right? When you put out something that vulnerable, people feel like you're open to their experiences, what they bring to the table, them coming on board, and then they feel more comfortable approaching you. In fact, a lot of the people that we work with have seen Sangya and have interacted with Sangya as customers, as consumers of our content first, and have then said that, you know what, this now feels close to me.
Yes.
So I would like to be a part of this story. And that's how most of our employees have come on board.
And I think that's where the difference is between someone joining the space because they're trying to experiment with their skills or with their interest in this industry, or say looking for a gig to do in their summers or something like that. the focus then becomes about having the most impact in that short period of time, because they know it's something that they're just doing for that tiny period and then moving on. But when it's someone who recognizes how this is a part of their personal story as well, and they just want to have that kind of impact for at least one other person somewhere else, the vision and the execution of those ideas looks very different, because they know they have to take it slow and really make it pay off in the long term. And that, I think, is where I've leaned towards encouraging people to see why this matters to them as well.
Understood. Okay. Moving slightly ahead, when we often look back at our journeys as individuals and looking to where we are today, we've become leaders, we're managing an operation and so on and so forth. Is there anybody that in each of your journeys you can think of as having played a pivotal role to bringing you to where you are today? Like, could be a teacher, it could be an ex-manager or a boss or a complete stranger, could be any of those things. But do any of you have that one individual that made that difference, or has it just been a series of different people?
It's been one particular individual, my brother-in-law, Ravi, right?
That was going to be my answer.
Well, same mentor that we had. Before this, before I met him, it was all about, okay, I need to, next paycheck, I need to get the money in there and all that jazz, going to different companies. And the first time I even thought about what a startup is and to have a startup was with him, right? It was at that time it was called Hurt Wars, and like we were doing a couple of things at that point when Snapchat was really big, where we were interviewing startup founders through Snapchat. So tell us about your startup in 60-second clips, etc. To keep that as a content hub. And it didn't work out because Snapchat didn't work out. And
this is pre-Sangya?
This is pre-Sangya, much before Sangya.
Yeah.
But he taught me, he was a part of Target's accelerator arm. So he knew exactly how startups are being built in that time when Bangalore was just booming, and taught me a lot on how a company should be started, what are the things you need to look out for. So everything I know about startup as such and how to safeguard yourself and build a company has been from Ravi.
And Ravi is Shweta's brother?
Yeah, he's my
Okay,
brother.
great. So is that your answer as well? But you may have a different reason.
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't the startup thing, but him and his wife, my sister-in-law, have had a very strong role to play in how I view my principles, my boundaries, and my moral compass. They were the ones who built it, essentially, from a very young age. So I know exactly what I will compromise on and what I will not compromise on, and things that I will fight hard on. And not just that, my own worth and what that means, right? All of those extremely fundamental values were instilled by them, which has then helped me a lot in my career, not just as a founder, but even before that. My senior before Sangya happened, when I was a lawyer, Sharan, he taught me a lot on how to work under pressure, because he has about, 10, 15 matters a day. He's a senior counsel.
Yes.
But to keep that level of patience, stress, to not snap at anyone, even when people around him could be screwing up in the middle of hearings. I have never had him snap at me, no matter how big the stakes, no matter what is happening in the middle of a hearing, right? To have that level of patience when the stakes are running into hundreds of crores is incredible. And to never have snapped at anyone.
Wow.
And to continue to work under that pressure. It is an unbelievable skill to keep everyone going, not out of fear, but out of respect. It's an incredible skill.
Do you believe you've imbibed some of that or all of it?
I try to.
Yeah.
I'm not that level of calm under pressure. I think I still snap, but it is something that I aspire to do.
I had this dive instructor actually when I was doing my dive master training, and I think that was my first example of someone in a leadership position who showed how effective it is to just stay calm. I think before that, a lot of the leaders.
Where was this?
This was in Goa. His name is Venkat, and so the bosses or the leaders or mentors I've had before that would have a bit of a temper, or they showcased the efficiency of fear in establishing authority and maintaining discipline a little bit, which I believe pays off in the short run, but you can't consistently keep people afraid of you and get them to perform well at work if they see you as someone to be scared of. Venkat was the first person who really showed how efficient it is when you are calm and stay focused on the big picture and the long-term vision, and how much easier it gets to see what everyone else is going through or how they might fail that day if you stay calm. And that, I think, is something that has really changed the way I function in work and life as well, because it just clears everything else up and makes you more supportive of other people, I hope, because you can catch what's happening with them from a mile away.
Let's not, like, the whole aspect of keeping calm and not snapping, and even from Ravi of being positive is what he would always be. We try our best, and it doesn't always work out. It's nice to look at and see, but you got to understand that Ravi is much more my senior, Sharan is much more Shweta senior, Venkat is everybody's senior from what I remember. And I hope that someday there are founders sitting here and we can confidently say that you don't snap anymore, you stay calm, and I stay positive. And the LinkedIn positivity, the Instagram calmness, and the Twitter self-deprecation goes away.
We may have people on this, on the Leadership Lounge a few years from now who will be saying that, I've learned everything from Ashish, Tanisha and Shweta. And
Ashish for sure.
I doubt that.
when you're designing trauma-informed education, do you find that your own traumas are quietly sitting at the table beside you?
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
Always.
I think, but I only see that as a strength. I don't think it's something that's ever diluted or made the conversation take a detour. But that's also because we, and I personally, have also done the work to get comfortable with the traumas that exist. I can't be perfectly healed.
Within yourself and
Yes.
Yeah,
there's this job involves being comfortable with sitting with a lot of discomfort and uncertainty, because you don't know what someone else is going through, what they're going to bring up, what's going to come up for you. A lot of that is constantly at play. But I don't think I would be decent at my job if I compartmentalized those traumas and pretended they weren't a part of the story. I feel like those are constantly fueling our biases and our perspectives, and it only makes sense to understand how they steer the wheel for you.
Moving on to something slightly different, in the sense of maybe a conversation that you may have had. Let's say the hardest conversation that you may have had with a young person about sex. And how did that sort of change you as an individual, or make you, influence you as a leader, or something about the product, or anything that you do? But fundamentally stemming out of a very, very difficult conversation with a young person about sex, right? Is there something that comes to mind for any of you?
For me, it's multiple, right? It's not just one conversation. It's having these conversations almost every day online, having these conversations in person when you go to events, and realizing, like, I think we've been to every event. Every event, there's at least one person who comes to us and breaks down crying because they finally
Really?
get an in-person conversation
Happens
with
very
us
often.
where they can actually talk about something, right? Because they're too afraid to talk about it online. And that's why we like doing events sometimes, so that we can at least meet that one person we know is gearing to ask us something or tell us something or just get reassured about something. And when these over like 4 years now, these series of meetings and series of conversations is what builds it. So it seems like one muddled conversation. It's not one story, but it's the multiple magnitude of how many stories are coming to you that actually builds you to be, like, lack of a better word, empathetic towards how people are in their relationships, how people are with you in your relationships, or how people portray themselves online as well.
Have you become more empathetic as a leader or a person pursuant to all of these conversations?
I would love to say that, but I think it's the opposite, and that's not because of the people, right? So I'm more empathetic towards my customers, and I'm a lot more brutal otherwise, and that's just.
Because you've gotten more protective of the customers. So I
That
feel
is-
like
that-
that
that's
is
a
where
better-
you think
yeah.
you've become brutal, but it's really just you saying,
Yeah.
no, I will maximize what I can do to make it even better for the customer.
Yeah, and I just hope you're sitting in your own virtue signaling way. Okay, I'm doing this for the customer, and the customer doesn't understand or know at all what I'm sacrificing for. It's a hard term, sacrificing, but doing or wanting to do for them, right? Where this is where the value system question came in. Like, if you had done this, would it have been better for the brand? Yes. But I'm sticking to my values because I know those are my values, Shweta's values, Tanisha's values, to do the best for the customer, because we did start as a sex ed page for a reason. And I just hope they understand that the protectiveness and the brutalness that is coming across to other people, investors or whoever it is just that, you know what, I'm going to protect this with all my life. So empathy for the customer, a lot of brutalness for the world, and that's where the leader we've become.
Fair enough. Tanisha, you've got a book coming out sometime soon, and you're
Yes.
also a columnist for
Bombay Times.
Bombay Times.
Yes.
Congratulations. So, what really prompted you to do that? I mean, did you feel like you had a lot to share with the world?
I did, but more importantly, I feel like people, especially when it comes to mental health and sexual health, or even pleasure, are made to feel so alone that we constantly feel that the problems we are encountering are unique, or they are things that nobody else in the world will understand or have advice for. And what I really want from the column and with the book, which is coming out this November, is for people to just hear someone else having very, very similar fears and very similar struggles than their own. For example, even with the book, it's not me telling my own story, it's not a memoir, it's 20-ish people who have agreed to be interviewed and share their stories with me. And all I've done is set context or explain certain terms, and
You've chronicled it for them.
yeah, because we are going through the same thing. We have experienced similar things from our teen years and the awkwardness of puberty and parents changing the channel when there's an intimate scene coming and then saying, no, we won't talk about it. Then you get married and suddenly they expect you to just start making babies like that. Like, it's a very common theme.
It's a very common India thing.
Yeah, so in the grand scheme of things, there are so much we have in common, but we're constantly isolated and just convinced that what we're going through is so different from everybody else. And then sometimes that becomes a point of resentment towards the people around us as well.
Sure.
But all we need is that 5 minutes to sit down and hear someone else and say, okay, so this has happened to someone else, they're bouncing out of it, they're getting better, I will too. Or this is what worked for me, and maybe I can share that somewhere so that this person finds out about it and figures it out as well. That loneliness, I think, is what's dampening the speed at which we feel empowered with our sexual lives the most.
That's why I love the name of your book as well. You're somebody's kink.
Oh, thank you. Seamlessly weaved that in.
Well, looking forward to that. And good luck. I mean, I think it's something that, it's an idea whose time has come possibly. So it's hopefully right time, and people really, understand what's in it and where it's coming from, and hopefully make an impact in their lives. All right, so when Sangya wins, whatever you call a win for Sangya, does it feel like validation or does it feel like relief?
I think the biggest problem with our, at least for me as a founder, is that we don't celebrate our wins, which is something that we're working on.
Yeah, maybe you should, right?
Yeah.
Every small
it's
win.
definitely
Yeah.
an issue. It's something that we've discussed internally as well. But here's what happens, right? There is so much going on at any given point in time, and this is again true of every business, that sure, when there is a win, you acknowledge it, but by the time you even wrap your head around it, there are other 10,000 things that you're simultaneously taking care of, and then you've been swept away in that momentum and you've lost.
Maybe one of you can be designated as Chief Celebration Officer.
We definitely maybe our dogs can.
Yeah.
Oh, there you have two of them, yeah. They'll remind you, you've got to celebrate every single day.
We really need that, and I think when I speak to other founders, I think they also, this seems to be a common struggle, this seems to be a common theme.
Because you're so wrapped up or caught up in trying to keep moving forward that you don't realize that you've achieved something substantial.
The negatives somehow always seem more booming in their presence than the positives.
Actually, that's true.
I think that's true of life and of business. It's just, and of our personal experiences. It's always like that. And it takes a very conscious effort to not make it so.
Yeah, like you were saying that there are constantly at least 15 fires on, right? Some days the win is actually putting out one of those fires and being able to sigh in relief. But on other days it's just, oh, I kept the fire from getting worse, and that's the closest I've come to a win in a long time. So I think that also messes with your ability to really let it sink in and rejoice, because you're just gunning for the next step that needs to be taken to
I think
moving
that's
forward.
if all the founders of startups that are watching this will definitely resonate with this.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a common theme, and you've really got to make an effort to really celebrate the small wins and pause to smell the roses, as they say.
Yeah, so much so that in our weekly meetings now, we have weekly meetings every Monday where we put in what were the tasks last week, what didn't get done, and what were the issues. And I've now recently just put another tab there which says what were the wins. Right, so the team can actually put in, okay, last week this is the positive
These
thing
are
that happened. These are the wins that happened, even if they're small. And I think that's really, really important to look at as well. Otherwise, every Monday you're waking up and you're looking at, okay, shit, this is a screw up that happened
You're
last
looking at
time.
all the negatives.
Yeah, and the to-dos, right? Yeah. And you're like, where are the wins? And then you take a moment and say, okay, shit, I did this last week. That means I can, though there was a screw up, we still had a win, and this week we can do that too. And it's okay to
Maybe Monday morning should start with just wins.
Nah, that's.
I think that's an excellent idea.
That's a recipe for
I'm
disaster.
thinking I'll do that at Monday as well.
I think 10 a.m. over
Toxic
coffee should
positivity is also another episode we should do.
I don't think it's
Toxic positivity.
Yeah, because only wins on a Monday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Said
no.
He said starting Monday.
Yeah,
He didn't say be in
I didn't say
denial about what is happening.
Oh God, Monday mornings where everybody wants to get in touch with you over a phone call, absolutely not.
On days or nights when it gets really heavy, right? Tough. You've all been through sort of the ringer, so to speak. How do you deal with it? Meaning, do you all typically lean on each other, or do you just retreat into your own corners and sort of deal with it, or do each of you deal with it differently?
I think it depends on the day.
It's a combination.
Yeah, it's a
It
combination.
is a combination of both.
Because there's sometimes when I just don't want to see the faces, right? I have my own.
wow,
Yeah,
okay.
You don't, because
You just want to be left alone.
Yeah, and no, not even left alone. I don't want to see your face, right? Because the day has gone through so much of firefighting, right? And you want to decompress from the day. So what do? You can't suddenly switch. If you think you're going to be a perfect person and be like, I can compartmentalize you as my
Colleague at work, and
it doesn't happen. But then there's sometimes when maybe one of us has had a bad day, right? But it's not linked to Shweta, it's not linked to Tani, right? It's linked to something that happened with a post, or something happened with a customer, or a shipment, or whatever it is. That's when we lean on each other, because like, let's comfort each other. It's fine. We'll make it through together. And so it depends on the day, the situation. A lot of things at that particular point, right?
Understood. So it depends on what has actually happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, at times we just want to go to our separate spaces, decompress, read, watch, whatever it is that we do, get some alone time. Because there's also not that much quiet, right? Through the day, through a work day. So those pockets of quiet also become something that you value deeply, and it's really not about anyone else. It's just about getting that quiet time. Sometimes I find myself staying up till late only because it's so quiet and I'm enjoying myself in that silence, and has nothing to do with what I'm actually doing. It's not like I'm sitting and watching a movie. But there are other times when something's happened and then we just sort of huddle and do something together because that's just comforting, or stay around in each other's orbit but in silence because that in itself is
Oh, so that's another option as well, right?
yeah. Always.
That's my favorite thing to do.
Quiet hang. we
Quiet
call it.
hang.
Quiet hang.
Yeah. So every evening, in fact, after work, one of us will be like, so do we want to read, watch, or quiet hang? So
Quiet hang is actually a serious option at the table.
yeah, 100%, all the time. So then we'll be doing our own thing, but in each other's vicinity. So every evening post work, we have like a poll between the three of us. So what do we feel like doing?
Yeah.
And majority wins.
Huh.
Do you always get consensus?
No, so if I say that, no, I want to go to my room and read, they'll be like, okay, do your thing. So if they want to sit and watch something together, or they want to do their own thing, then they figure out what they want to do.
Yeah, because it's actually, I just realized, like, there's sometimes when I know that I want a quiet hang, and the minute you say that you're going into the room, I look at Tanisha and say, do you want to watch season 2 of, Harley Quinn or something like that,
That's
right?
true.
Because I think it depends.
Quiet hang worked if it was the three of you.
Yeah.
But if it was just the two of you,
Yeah.
maybe something else.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I just
Understood.
realized that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but also because I think the whole reason this works is because we came together as 3 individuals who found a way to work together, right?
Yes.
But if we merge into one blob, those strengths then just start to blur out, and then I don't know if we would be the team that we are and the family that we are if we become one blob. So I think the whole reason it feels sustainable and safe and exciting to be a part of is because there is also that balance of maintaining our individuality and then coming to each other and say, oh, we continue to grow in complementary directions and in parallel directions instead of just not knowing who we are.
I like the way you described it. You don't want to become a blob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just
Terrifying.
like a blob.
We've always had that very, very clear. We don't, there is a very big chunk of each of our personalities and lives that is
Distinct identities. You want to maintain that.
yeah, which includes having friends that are not common and life
Oh,
outside.
that too? I mean, so do you
Yeah,
actually all hang
Yeah.
out? You have different
Yeah,
friends
balance
and
of all that.
We have different sets of friends. We, in fact, have more individual friends than we have common friends.
I don't think
Tell
we have
me.
any common friends.
Not really, no.
Manik.
Manik, if you're watching, know that you're privileged. You're the one common friend that the 3 of them have. All right, okay.
Yeah. If I woke up and these 2 were exactly the way I am, I don't think that would work. That would be frightening and dull.
And also
Except that people mistake Tani and me for each other all the time.
Is that so? That happens?
Yeah, oh my
That happened with cops.
That
It's
happened with cops once.
cops who had a
Meaning,
very,
didn't I catch you
very...
last week? Is that what happened?
you got to give some context
I
because
am,
it's
I
Sangya
am.
and he said that happens with
Oh,
cops.
yeah.
And I'm just
I
like,
didn't even go there.
no.
So they were having a very serious conversation with one of us about something that was happening in that moment. And then he just, like the cop went and spoke to a colleague and then came back and continued the rest of the conversation with the wrong one of us. So I was just standing
Wow.
there going, no,
Yeah.
it wasn't me. I'm here with Shweta, but you were speaking to Shweta this entire time. Different hair colors, different heights, different glasses. What is
Different
going on?
individuals.
Yeah. And it took like 10 minutes of him seeing the blank look on my face before he said, I don't think this is the one. And then he went looking for
Okay, finally. He got it. The penny dropped. Okay.
No, and I think that's what, it would be so
No, hang on,
dangerous.
to clarify, nobody committed any offense.
Yeah, it was just some
That's
passport
not what it
verification
was.
type thing.
It was just a general conversation with the cops that you had.
a non-consequential general
Yeah.
conversation.
It happens
as
all
one
the time.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly.
I just dropped by for
Yeah,
conversation.
we were at the police station for no reason. Like
That's
it
it,
was just
just,
like
you
we're
know.
saying hi.
Buddies.
But I think that if we became a blob personally also, right, it would be so dangerous for any business we start, even Sangya or the future businesses we do want to do, right? Because then we're losing the strength that makes it a tripod and becomes a
Yeah.
monopod, right?
Yeah.
I love the fact that we have different hobbies, different likes and different friends, whereas our values are the same, right? And I think that's what helps
Makes
it
this
work.
stick.
Yeah, makes it stick. And yeah, I think that's what, yeah. And I think that's become a little bit more natural than, it was purposeful in the start. We were drawing boundaries. Now it's just become, yeah, I know what I need to do and this is what.
And I think that's a great takeaway for founders as well. I mean, not all founders will necessarily be also family,
Yeah.
but either for founders or for families, it's a great takeaway that you should maintain your
Individuality.
distinct and individual identity, because
Yeah.
that helps you either at home or at work, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
you grow as people and as a unit.
And that's what made you choose each other
In the
as
first
co-founders
place.
in the first place. Don't lose that because of any other reason.
Choose me, pick me.
No.
All right. One question that I want to ask all of you, which is, it's kind of personal to me as well, in the sense that Rainmaker has changed me a lot in many ways because of the way Rainmaker is as an organization, and I think I speak for some of my colleagues as well. They feel that they've changed for the better, obviously, in terms of who they are today because of what Rainmaker is and what we do, right? At Sangya project, do you feel like you have also sort of
100%.
have you remained, are you who you are because at the core you were that person?
I think there would be a bit of an issue if it didn't change us, right? Because if I was the same person with or without Sangya or law 4 years ago, it would be an issue. If I look back and seemed identical, that's
So it's a part of evolution
that
of
shows
the
no
human,
growth,
yeah, no
right?
growth, okay.
All the experiences that we've collectively had, good or bad, at Sangya, has fundamentally changed us, in fact. Some of those are positive, some of those are negative, some of those are just coping mechanisms. But it's changed for sure. And I think that would hold true for anyone, except that maybe it's more accelerated because running a business is accelerated. You are cramming 3 days into one, essentially, right? Every day feels like, if you as a founder look back, your 6 months will seem like it's been 3 years, because that's just how it is. And I'm sure that's true of any organization. So that change seems a bit more accelerated in that sense. But yeah, 100%.
I think it's a little bit of the latter for me actually, because I think a lot of this is what I always wanted to do and wanted to be able to do, but I didn't know what kind of skills I necessarily needed to develop or the support I needed and the structure I needed. And now work is as exciting as it is because I'm watching myself change into the person I always wanted to be. So I think that it's a combination of both for me, where of course change is happening, but it's
At the core,
bringing out
you are
something
who you
that
are,
was,
and
yeah.
Sangya fitted very well into that.
Like that's what's made work fulfilling, that I went after what wasn't
Understood.
being expressed inside.
Fair enough. Okay, that's.
I wouldn't know how to answer this one when it comes to change, right? Because yes, it does change you. You will never objectively be able to tell someone whether that change was good or bad. The change is who you are at this point, and you need to be happy with the person you have become without regrets of who you could have become. And that holds true in any part of life. Change is inevitable.
Yeah, it's the only constant.
To say that every change in you is a good one and every change in you is a needed one may not hold true. But as long as you can make peace with the change that has happened, you're on the journey to finding contentment in life. And that's all you can do.
On that humongously philosophical note, we'll move to our next segment, which is kind of my favorite segment. I'm going to throw questions at you. It's called the Would You Rather, the Sangya edition segment, and it is basically dilemmas. Would you rather this or that, you know? To understand a little bit more about what makes each of you who you are. So, ready?
Hang on, so is it directed at one person at a time or is it open?
No, I think it should be open, right? Would you rather
let's do that.
Would you rather that we make it directed to one person or open?
No, competition is on.
I'll win, that's okay.
No, I'm winning.
Okay.
So we have already started because that was the first would you rather question. Okay, what we can do is this. I think it would be great to hear from each one of you, right? And of course, we have a hamper at the end for whoever wins Although I realize it's going to go back to the same home or the same
doesn't work
office.
that way.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't work
It doesn't
that
work
way.
that way.
Ashish inhales every. No. Everything is.
It has to be
Yeah.
segregated.
Mine.
Danny
Because
and I
when
will
I
not
win.
see any food otherwise because this man never learned how to chew. Firstly, he learned how to inhale and everything in one go. So
Everybody who has an elder sibling who's a brother, like if you're two brothers, you will understand this. Especially when me and my
I am
brother-
the elder brother.
Yeah. So like we used to demarcate because our age was also not that wide, right? We are 2.5 years difference, and my parents realized very quickly if we can't get two of something, we're not getting it.
Yeah.
Right? And then we used to demarcate. This is what I'm eating. This is what he's eating, and this.
So
is
you
what we're
become
doing.
very territorial.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, fine. So we can go in order.
Yeah.
Right? Or you can, whoever wants to go first can, provided of course we cover all three of you
Yeah.
for each question. Would you rather have a product that sells 1 million units but sparks no conversations, or a product that sells 10 but changes 10 lives?
10
Changes
lives.
10 lives.
a million.
See, this is why we need all three. Because me, Ashi should be doe-eyed going, yes, we changed one life. And Shweta says, but who's getting salaries this month?
Now you know why I'm not CEO, neither is Shatanisha.
Which is why the two of you can afford to be very, you know. Yeah, okay. All right. Would you rather fight one big public battle against censorship or 1,000 small invisible battles against stigma? I already feel like I know who's going to answer what, but go for it.
One big one.
One big one against censorship?
Against censorship, take me to Supreme Court and I can fight it there.
Okay, nice. You may even argue your own battle.
Absolutely.
Your own case. Okay, what about you, Tanisha?
I think the 1,000 small battles against stigma, I'm capable of it, and I want to see those tiny bits change before we fight the big fight. And
Stigma for sure.
For sure.
100%.
1,000 small battles against
100%.
stigma rather than the win.
Our 1,000 battles if the war is not won.
That's not actually accurate at all.
But it sounds great.
It makes for a great soundbite. All right, okay.
tum sala marketing log.
Would you rather raise capital from someone who doesn't get your mission?
No.
Too late.
दूसरा तो सुन ही लो. Or stay small but uncompromised?
Can you repeat the
Stay
question?
small but
Would you rather raise capital from someone who doesn't get your mission, who doesn't get Sangya at all? Or stay small but you have not
Stay small.
compromised?
It depends. Because if they're giving me capital but not intervening, I don't need them to understand my mission.
No. You know where it'll go wrong?
Where
When
it
they
went
want
wrong.
their 5x returns anyhow, and then that would
Fair.
entail you
That's true.
compromising on everything,
That's true.
selling plastic products to get that revenue up. And not
That's-
all money is good money.
That's true. See, again, I
Then
thought
this-
about changing the world and making an impact. And yes, this is
This
why we
reminds
work
me of a
together.
story, and Ashish, I want to hear your
Yeah.
thought, and then I'll tell you what I had in mind. Yeah.
Not raise money at all.
Not raise money. So stay small
Yeah,
but
stay small.
uncompromised.
Not raise money at
Interesting.
all.
Very interesting.
It's I really need founders to understand this, that not all money is good money. We see money and we just go towards it blindsided, but what happens after? What is the kind of
There is no free lunch.
exactly if someone doesn't get what you're building, they're not going to support you, and at some point you will need that support. There are things that are going to go up in flames repeatedly. If someone doesn't get you, they will expect you to compromise and compromise hard. That could mean on your values, on the product, on quality, on everything. And where does that leave you then?
Fair point. Fair point. And this reminds me, in fact, of an interview I saw of Delicious founders, two of them, and they were narrating an incident where they were trying to raise money, and one of the prospective investors came and said, yes, we are happy to fund you, but we have only one condition, which is that you start selling paneer. And so, of course, I think that compromised their values, and they said, no, sorry, but... And that was at a time, I believe, when they needed cash urgently,
Correct.
but they still stayed true to their vision.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm hearing from all of you as well, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
because
staying true to the vision is important.
It's so sad that people are not happy with just being a family business at one point, right? They want that unicorn status without being like,
Does it need to have?
doesn't
a
need to.
unicorn
Do you
status?
want? Do you need it? Right? How much is too much? Why are you always gunning to be the next Bill Gates or Elon Musk or whatever it is? Is that
Got it.
always the goal of your happiness, or is it that ठीक है तुमको बैंड्रा में 20 करोड़ का फ्लैट चाहिए, but do you need to be a unicorn for that? Right? Where is your limitation? What is your personal limitation? And if a family business, which I think entire Pedder Road is built on family businesses,
Family
right?
businesses, yeah,
So
sure.
like, where is your limitation? And that youngsters don't have that because Sharma ji ka beta is doing something else, right?
No, and also it's this culture, right, of everyone talking about how you have to scale this quickly.
And that's such
To
a
be considered a
Western
success.
bloody
Because
philosophy.
it's become a template now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That you have to raise money, raise capital, get 5x, 10x,
Yeah.
exit, make money, and then whatever, chill.
Make-
While simultaneously nobody talks about what it actually does to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make
All to
family
the
businesses
business.
great again should be the motto.
Let's not do that.
All right. Staying on with would you rather. Would you rather explain Sangya to your grandparents or to a panel of traditional corporate CEOs?
Corporate CEOs.
Corporate CEOs.
Easier?
Yeah. Not easier. My grandparents wouldn't need that much of explanation. I don't know.
Nice. Very
Well
nice.
played. Okay.
What's your reason?
I don't know how to argue with someone who will not budge or see what I'm trying to say at all. You can't argue with someone who brings tradition to something that doesn't align with what I'm saying.
I love how we don't know whether you're talking about your grandparents or
Grandparents or the CEOs?
No, I said that right as soon as the question was out of
No,
his
you
mouth.
said that you'd rather pitch to traditional CEOs.
yes,
Which
yes.
means right now you're talking about your grandparents.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We're both the same.
Oh.
This is what I meant.
Okay, so let me rephrase. Traditional CEOs whom I'm used to talking to, with my grandparents, they would probably just break down, and the traditional CEOs are not going to cry in my
No,
face
they
and
won't,
be
they
like,
won't,
what are you doing with
You
your
might
life?
get weird looks, but that's about it.
And I'm great with that. I am absolutely okay with that. I just don't know what to do with someone crying and saying, what have you done to your family values? I have no answer to that.
That's a bridge too far. Tanisha, what about you?
I feel like grandparents would be easier because I could play into the storytelling and emotional angle, but with the corporate space, it's so hard to really cement that sometimes the impact is just so flowery and abstract, right? That the numbers may not be as grand as you want them to be, but it's still a good, healthy business.
Show us the hockey stick growth, and we're like,
And that's what the traditional CEOs are going to ask you. Okay, would you rather be remembered as entrepreneurs who disrupted a market or as leaders who softened a culture?
leaders who soften a culture.
Soften the culture.
Cultural
Disrupted the
impact over disruption.
You want the legacy, right?
Yeah.
Would you rather have your team challenge you every single day or follow you with complete trust, no questions asked? I think I know the answer to this.
Complete trust.
No, challenge.
Challenge.
It's not much of a challenge, is it?
Oh my God. Arrogance of
Okay, I thought you'd all be on the same page on this one, but all right. Would you rather build slowly with deep impact, okay, or scale fast even if some nuance is lost?
Slowly, as
Slowly.
slow as possible.
Deep
Yeah.
impact. Deep impact.
deep impact.
Yeah, same for you as well.
Yeah,
I
because
somehow put you down as the person who wants
no,
fast
I
break
would.
things.
I would traditionally, but there are things that you can't worth lose in the process, right? You can't do it with when the fundamentals are not strong, and making sure that the fundamentals are strong takes a little bit of time.
Understood.
And that is something I've realized over a period of time. So if you asked me the same question last year, I would have said breakneck speed, but I realize how those building foundations are important, and that is not just true of the business but also of you as an individual. So yeah.
Okay, very good. That was awesome. Thank you all very much for a very, very candid would you rather. I think it was more candid than I expected actually. It came out really spontaneously and naturally.
I think with the three of us, maybe candid is the only thing
Candid
you
is the
can
default
always
setting
say.
for the three of you. Yeah.
We'll have to go through like a training process to sugarcoat.
As we sort of close this conversation, and I just want to thank you all very much for this, I want to ask you one final question, right? If for any reason Sangya wasn't there tomorrow, right? But people remembered one thing about who you are, or your leadership, or you as a leader, right? What would you want to be remembered for? That one thing, just one thing.
That we continue to build in a hard space, a space as hard as this, knowing fully well that it is what it is, and that did not stop us. I think I can very easily say that this is the hardest space to build in India
Build a
currently.
business in?
Currently. I do not think there is anything else that is harder than this socially, and the kind of lens with which people view it as, and the fact that we did it.
I think for me it would be that ethics and a moral compass definitely have their own seat at the boardroom meetings as well. You're often told that you have to park a lot of personal pieces of yourself outside the room when you walk in for that big meeting and only discuss numbers or hard fact. But I think Sangya became an example to the three of us, where bringing an emotional perspective and community and collaborative work really allowed Sangya to stand apart as its own story.
This is something that we will be remembered for whether we want it or not, and something that people can't take away from us.
Sure.
We are and always will be the first manufacturers of sex toys in India.
That's true.
So whether we're here or not here, whether we're big ones who take over the market,
History will remember you as the first.
we are.
Okay, well said. All right, on that note, thank you all. Ashish, Tanisha, Shweta, founders of the Sangya project. It's been amazing to have you all on the show. And I think this is a conversation whose time had come. We really needed to get this out there, get your leadership story out there. So thank you for making time for this.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
It's been a lovely conversation.
Who won? Who won the hamper?
We will. I think
I
we have
won.
decided that maybe we'll figure out how to give you all a piece of the hamper.
This participation trophy thing is a Western culture. India में जीतते हैं.
नहीं, but जीतने वाले कल्चर तो बाहर का है.
अच्छा.
इंडिया में तो सब मिल बांट के खाते हैं, कम्युनिटी.
I'll take
So-
that.
We'll be divided as soon as we get home. Get into the car.
Yeah.
That too. All right, good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks
you.
a lot.
Thank you.
Good luck to you folks. Yeah, you're
Thank
doing
you so
something
much.
amazing. So
Thank you.
I want to see Sangya splashed everywhere in due course. Big hoardings.
Yes.